Good morning, everyone. Lots going on as usual. Today is Tuesday, November 12th. Wednesday, November 12th. Sorry, everyone. Wednesday, November 12th, 2025. And they're stealing meat. So organized criminals are stealing meat and other valuable goods, cheeses and things like that from grocery stores, especially rural grocery stores. And so that's not very good. Organized crime getting into stealing food. Where do we live? North Korea? Meaningful look at the camera. There's an attempt to recall Danielle Smith, and the recall is based on a whole bunch of her use of the notwithstanding clause to bring teachers back, her use of the notwithstanding clause for gender ideology removal, et cetera, et cetera. So they're trying to push hard to remove Danielle Smith. So that's interesting and a new development. There are fines if you don't keep your house up to code, reports Nigel Farage in our net zero shakedown today. And they're trying to pass this in the UK, and I think it's something that they'll probably try and do here as well. Trump did not, yesterday I reported that he introduced 15-year car loans, and I was like, this seems like a bad idea. And when I read the post, and I had put it in the list, I hadn't verified it. And I said when I was reporting on it that I hadn't verified it, and it seemed a little hinky. And somebody sent me a message saying, yeah, man, no, it's not real. So it's not real. So that's good. But today's Trump news, just as baffling as the 15-year car loans. So we've got lots of Trump news today. At the end of the show, we'll talk about what's going on in the U.S. A darker take on the office workers as the military. It goes back to the USSR and Stalin's kind of inner circle. And these Karens, if you arm them, imagine a masked zealot with a rifle, right? Like this is not so good, right? So very, very dark version of things could be coming our way. I hope I'm wrong about that. Super duper hope I'm wrong about that. And what the UK ends, some intelligence sharing with the US over the US protecting its borders and the United Kingdom being ideologically opposed to that, I guess. So that's interesting as well. So there's lots to get to. Let's get to it. First, a little bit of budget cleanup news, and then we're going to talk about Remembrance Day as well. Mark Nixon says, Kate Harrison nails it. The Carney government would rather fuel drama about a floor crosser than talk about their budget that doubles the deficit. That they gave him permission to do the interview because it's easier to sell gossip than explain economic collapse. Yes, we're being distracted, and I think it's the most important thing to realize. The budget is going to pass because the NDP can't afford an election, and they're being, well, the Liberals have just basically said, everything will be fine. We'll do this, and you'll help us, and it'll be just like when the glory days of Jagmeet Singh and Justin Trudeau, and it's the same-ish. And fundamentally, they're going to pass this garbage legislation, and we're going to pay for it, and that's very unfortunate because it's expensive and it's not beneficial. And the Carney government recognizes that it's expensive and not beneficial. And so what do? They give people a juicy, gossipy story to take all eyes off of the crap sandwich that is the budget. And so that's the important part that they'd rather hear. I'll let her say it.
In terms of trying to get back to the main message here, which is that the Carney government rather talk about this issue than the budget that they just released. They gave permission to Mr. D'Entremont to conduct that interview. We saw quite a bit of lauding of that floor crossing over the course of the back half of last week. And I think that speaks volumes about what the government's priority is right now. It's not on detailing the aspects of their budget that they're proud of for Canadians. It's focusing on this House drama and hoping that everybody forgets about the doubling of the deficit that we just saw.
Well, right? Can't disagree. And so we're being distracted, and it's in order to get this passed with as little friction as possible. And we're falling for it. And I wish we wouldn't. I wish we wouldn't, but oh well. Aaron Gunn has done a little 9-minute documentary about Mark Carney is bankrupting Canada. I have not watched the whole thing yet. A bunch of people were recommending it. And then I saw like a minute-long one, and I was like, okay, maybe it was a trailer or something like that. And I thought I was underwhelmed because everybody was talking this thing up. And then I came across this morning, so here we go. It's in the links, but Aaron Gunn's got this 9-minute documentary. And unfortunately, the conservatives Shim Jelly Jim says, Aaron, another globalist actor, Carney is finishing the globalist playbook Mulrooney and Harper signed us up for. They all worked to bankrupt Canada. Harper bailed out the banks with the people's purse. Watch this factual video. You might see your handler in it. And I don't know anything about a handler or anything like that. But I think that fundamentally, the CPC isn't an effective opposition because they don't take any principled stances on anything. And there's nothing there's nothing it seems like they can do to stop this machine. They can't win elections. They're not able to filibuster. C2, C12, C8, C9, these bills are going to get through just like, and I hope I'm wrong, just like the budget. And it seems like the conservatives are fighting the liberals on Twitter, but mostly voting with them. They voted for the throne speech by allowing it to pass on division. They voted for C5, and the excuse for voting for C5 was they didn't want to be seen as obstructionist. But how is it obstructionist to tell the liberals, if you want to build pipelines, repeal C69, don't pass another bill that bypasses your bad bill? How is that obstructionist? We'd support repealing Bill C69, but we won't support a new bill that carves out a place for certain people to ignore Bill C69. This is not how you govern. And so it just seems like they're really ineffective. And like, great, it's a 9-minute video, but they still don't seem to have their finger on the pulse. They try to, but they miss badly. Canada Proud is, let's talk about Remembrance Day. Remembrance Day was yesterday. I was out and there was a land acknowledgement, and I typically try and leave for the land acknowledgement. I try and kind of stand outside of the room or something like that, and then I'll come back in. And yesterday I didn't, and the land acknowledgement language has changed, and that was notable for me. I thought, wow, that's interesting. So they said that basically the lands used to be looked after, quote unquote, by these tribes, and now it's our job to look after these lands. And I thought, whoa, okay, that's not, we're on stolen territory anymore. Like that's a market different language. And I think that that's interesting to note. So, and not that I think we shouldn't have land acknowledgements at all, but all of a sudden, now that there are Indian bands, First Nations bands are saying, that land acknowledgement, you're 100% right. Where are the keys, please? People are saying, well, hold on a second. Let's change that language so they can't misunderstand what we're saying. We're just virtue signaling here, buddy. Like we don't mean it. Right? So Canada Proud says Toronto Remembrance Day ceremony begins with a land acknowledgement and a reminder about slavery. And Canada Proud says, would you say this is disrespectful to our veterans? And a lot of people say yes, this is disrespectful at the highest level to all who served and those who died defending this country. Makes it look as if their sacrifice were for nothing. This is our country, and the blood spilled in the name of Canada gives us land title that supersedes all others. And yeah, like I've said before, how far back in time? Why do you go to that particular place in time when we have modern judicial and like agreements in place? Why would we go back to 150 years? Why would we do that? It doesn't make any sense. And again, why go back 150 years, right? Why stop there? Why not go back 200 years and use the land that was under the control of the people 200 years ago? Why not 250 years ago? Why not 400 years ago? It's ridiculous, right? It's ridiculous. It's the same thing as a 50-year mortgage. Why not a 2,000-year mortgage? Yeah, think of those monthly payments. Woo, right? It's ridiculous. Mr. Sunshine Baby says there is currently a prayer ban in place, not for land acknowledgements. You can have that prayer, but a chaplain. You can't have a Christian prayer, okay? Prayer ban in place for Remembrance Day ceremonies. Chaplains have been banned. What a way to honor our fallen soldiers who gave their life for this country. And yeah, really, right? Like, you're not allowed to celebrate your religion. Here's this rabbi to do it for you instead, right? And so CBC Watcher is highlighting this. Today we gather at this sacred space to honor those who served and those who never came home. They fought to save our future. Prime Minister Diefenbaker once said, I'm Canadian, free to speak without fear, free to worship God in my own way, free to stand for what I think right, freedom, the right to be oneself. It's a simple idea, but it's what our soldiers gave everything to protect. They fought so we could live free. And it's a shame that all of that's gone. It's a shame that everything they fought for is disappeared under UN demanded and requested speech laws and hate speech laws, and wrapped up in a nice little safetyism for your safety comrade bow. It's bullshit. So this guy is, CBC Watcher says, from the Remembrance Day benediction at the National War Memorial from Rabbi Eden Shear. right? So there you go. Prayer ban, right? Got to have a rabbi do it. Weird. Isn't that weird? Is that weird? Pierre Polyev weighs in on all of this. He says, well, not really. He just says Happy Remembrance Day. And he says, today, more than a century after the guns fell silent in Europe, Canadians across the country and around the world paused to reflect. Our military history is as brilliant and storied as Canada itself, from simple farmers defending their homes at Queenston and Ridgeway to tenacious resolve of our forces in the world wars, to those who upheld our nation's honor in Korea, in Afghanistan, and on peacekeeping missions across the globe. It's a legacy of professionalism, duty, and courage of sailors, soldiers, and aviators giving their all and often their lives for a common cause, a story of adversity, struggle, and of triumph. For generations, we have marked this day with prayer, gratitude, and most of all, remembrance, because as proud as our history is, we know the high price at which these victories came. This and every Remembrance Day, we thank our veterans and present-day military members for their service on sea, land, and air, and we honor the memories of all of those who fell in our nation's wars. May we all, in our own small way, carry on their selfless spirit, lest we forget. So there you go, nice little speech. And Shim Jelly says, you stood by and said nothing when cops beat our veterans in Ottawa protecting this veterans memorial. You are an example of pure deceit, feigning support while voting to beat down the veterans. You're pure fraud, pure globalist actor. So yeah, it's interesting. On one side, he doesn't speak out against the tactics used against peaceful truckers protesting in Ottawa. Doesn't speak out against that. Doesn't speak out against the ostriches. Weird, right? Weird, but lest we forget. So I feel like we're being manipulated, lest we forget. Ryan says, this is just a couple of months of both Anita and Anand and Mark Carney repeating the line, quote, the world is increasingly dangerous and divided. The two of the Prime Minister's office statements are only a day apart. This is next level propaganda and messaging. The party told you to reject the evidence of your eyes and ears. It was their final, most essential command. That's George Orwell, 1984. And yeah, it's the same. They're using fear tactics. It's the same thing we saw during COVID, just applied to a vague general threat that, you know, is out there and it's going to get you or your family. And like, indeed, something terrible might happen to you or your family because of all of the people we've let in unvetted into our country. And that's just one vector. Like there are other people, violent criminals being let out of jail is another vector, right? There are other places. Gun crime is increasing despite all these gun bans, right? Another vector of potential disaster. And so they say, oh, this might happen. And when nothing happens, or by and large nothing happens, not on a grand scale, but on a personal scale, right? It feels more sinister, right? But I don't know. You shouldn't use rhetoric like this in order to control or manipulate your population. Yet we see that and have seen that consistently from these liberals more and more as the years go by. Scott says civil servants would by and large be liberal and NDP loyalists. Yes. And that's why the liberal government wants 300,000 of them carrying firearms. Thankfully, most of them are afraid of firearms, won't come into the office, can't do push-ups, and have openly admitted they can't be trusted with staplers. C. Stein says, the NKVD could not formally override the military's strategic decisions, but it exercised immense power over the military's personnel and internal affairs, effectively serving as the supreme enforcement arm of Stalin's political control. The relationship was structured as follows. Political control, the primary mechanism for control was through the Communist Party structure, specifically the use of political officers or politicriks, I'm getting that terribly wrong, I'm sorry, within military units, and the NKVD's counterintelligence social departments, later SMERSH, SMERSH. Oh no, the SMERSH are here. Get out of here. Run. The SMERSH. These NKVD organs were embedded within the military structure from the regimental level upwards and reported through their own NKVD chain of command. VD keeps making me think of venereal disease, right? Everybody used to call that VD back in the day in England, but in Canada it was STI or STD, but in England it was VD. Oh, do you have VD? I was like, what is VD? What are they talking about? I don't know why they would ask me that. Anyway, these NKVD organs were embedded within military structure from the regimental level upwards and reported through their own NKVD chain of command, not the regular military hierarchy. Their job was to monitor the political reliability of commanders and soldiers and root out the bad actors and people who weren't, party loyalists and things like that. So this is the dark side of this whole thing. If you give people power, they will get drunk on that power, and then they will abuse that power. And we're watching the Liberals do it, and they want to empower their bureaucratic class, their public service, with rifles. Here you go, guys. We're going for a weekend to drive tanks around and shoot guns. You'll love it, right? And the other thing was, apparently the voluntary service is non-pensionable time, and all of the people on Reddit, this was shared in the Canada Poly chat, so thanks guys. All the people on Reddit are saying this is non-pensionable time. Are you kidding me? Like, I'm not going to join this stupid thing. And so it's very interesting how this program is poorly thought out, ridiculous. It's never going to work. And it's probably an excuse for them to say, okay, well, we're going to allow non-citizens to join the military too then. So France does that in the French Foreign Legion. So, but I don't know if that's just probably a small arm of the French military, but I don't know. Holly Doan says feds will rewrite Canada Post Corporation Act to allow quicker stamp price increases. Oh, goody. Law currently requires cabinet approval for any price hike, typically delaying higher revenues by 3 to 4 months. When are we getting rid of Canada Post again? Because I'm kind of sick of paying billions of dollars for this corporation that really, what value do you bring in the modern era, right? And so if all you're doing is demanding money for not doing your job, sorry, I think we've got a different way to do things, right? I'm pretty sure Amazon's efficient at moving packages and things, so I don't know. I'm sure there's a better way to solve the problem. Anyway, the Telegraph. I like the idea of Post Office and Canada Post, but what seemed to work well in the 60s doesn't work well now. And I think it's by design, because in the 60s, the idea was, I think, like capitalism, maybe not though, because they introduced the NHS and free healthcare back then. But the idea was to make money and to churn the economy, have quote good jobs that would raise a family and stuff, right? An important job, a pillar of the community. The mailman is a pillar of the community, and so I don't know. I'm sure that there's a way you could have those things now, and I'm sure, I just don't have the details, that it's policy that's driven this collapse of Canada Post. And if we had somebody, because there are, as I said, Amazon can deliver packages, right? So there are companies out there that are very successful at this. Maybe we should look at those business models. Maybe we should just sell the damn thing, because clearly the government is incapable of actually running a successful business. Look at what it's done to all of the things that it's running, right? Healthcare, education, Canada Post. Anyway, moving on a little bit. The Telegraph is reporting the Magdeburg Christmas market in Germany has been canceled over security concerns after last December's car ramming terror attack, which killed 6 people. Cancel it. So how dare you allow 6 people to die in a car ramming terror attack? How dare you, Christmas market? So you'll be punished. So that's not good. So that's an attack on the West, an attack on the culture. And we're losing, unfortunately. Kirk says, stay out of our land, settlers. Also, the contamination that we created on our land is a national issue. Come clean it up, settlers. Oh, and by the way, we are claiming the land your house is on, settlers. Send more money. The Cowichan tribe is seeking federal help to deal with the mountain of waste. Cowichan tribe is calling on the federal government to take responsibility for an unauthorized dumping site on its reserve lands, saying the contamination of Indigenous lands is a national issue that Ottawa has long failed to address. So who dumped what on the land? Like, are they saying that just random people were dumping on the land and nobody stopped them? Or who dumped on the land? I heard it was the tribe itself was throwing its garbage there, and now they're asking for help cleaning it up. But I don't know the details. So I'll have to find out the details and figure out who dumped this garbage. Because if it was just random citizens coming in and dumping, it seems like that got out of hand, right? So it seems like there's more going on here than just like everybody was like, hey guys, did you hear about the unofficial dump out in the Cowichan place? Right? Like, is that what was going on? Because if that was going on, then maybe it is an issue that the government needs to deal with, right? Because like, that's not fair. But if it is people on the reserve doing this, then they should clean it up. Because anyway, calls a whole bunch of things into question. We've got to say goodbye to the stream soon, but I wanted to point something out, and I'm going to make a short video to go at the top of the YouTube channel. What used to happen, and the reason I started doing lives, is because I couldn't upload my videos because the videos would just sit in processing all day. And so now they've started just making my videos sit in processing all day. So yesterday's, lest we forget, I could access it. If I went to my YouTube channel and I went from like my YouTube studio to my YouTube channel, I could click in and see the video, and it looked like it had views and it looked like it had activity. And I was like, okay. And it seemed like it was fine. But when I opened the app, it says that the video is processing. It processed till this morning. And it gives me 500 views or something like that, 560 views. I don't care about the views. Like that's not it. They're systemically reducing my views, but they make my videos sit in processing all day. But as soon as this is up, as soon as this is published, maybe not as soon as this is published, but if you see this up, then likely within the hour of this being up, you'll be able to catch the whole show on X or on Rumble. I might start just posting it, definitely on Rumble. I might start posting it on Canada Report, but this is censorship. It is blatant censorship. And not all live streams they're saying it'll take up to 72 hours, 24 to 72 hours. So don't worry about it. 24 to 72 hours? You have a live stream and they're going to put it in processing for 24 to 72 hours? And they only just did this. This was very recent. This is in the last 6 weeks. I noticed it, but I would check my videos and they seemed like I could access them. It's despicable because they're being underhanded in how these videos are being presented to the public. So YouTube is doing this. This is censorship, and this is the censorship that's coming. People can't access my stuff. And so like probably the best way to access my stuff from going forward, because this is going to tighten up. They're not going to open up the internet anymore. They're going to shut it down, right? And even if I have a video, there's no guarantee that I'm even going to be able to distribute it because they're going to just shut me down. Oh, it's processing time 6 weeks. So, it takes so long to look at every pixel, right? 6-7 weeks or whatever it is. So yeah, you'll get your payment in the mail. It's ridiculous. And they claim this is not censorship. It is absolutely censorship what's going on. Here is, Almost Anything says communism is on the rise everywhere. Disclosed TV is reporting South Korea's president tells police and civil officials that hate speech and misinformation spread on social media must be considered a crime that goes beyond the limits of freedom of expression and must be severely punished as it's a threat to democracy. So I don't know if he's speaking English.
이 사회가 점차
He is not speaking English. So we will just leave it there. But we've got the United Nations guy. Where's the United Nations guy? Here he is. Jim Ferguson says, WEF 2025 bombshell, Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez demands the end of online anonymity, calling for every social media account to be linked to an EU digital ID wallet. At the World Economic Forum, Sanchez declared no one can walk the streets with a mask, so why allow people... No one can walk the streets with a mask? No one was allowed to walk the streets without a mask a couple of years ago. So why allow people to roam online without revealing their identity? The EU is preparing to abolish, or translation, the EU is preparing to abolish digital privacy, forcing every citizen to attach their name, ID, and biometric data to their online activity. This isn't about accountability. It's about total traceability, a digital surveillance grid where every post, purchase, and opinion is monitored. That's what they want. That's what they're looking for. Crazy, crazy, crazy stuff. Here is Toronto police, and they're going after thought crime victims, or thought crime perpetrators. So this person, news release, suspect sought in suspected hate-motivated threatening investigation, Bathurst Street and Shepherd Avenue. And so it's pretty crazy. Like, the Toronto Police Service is requesting the public's assistance with identifying a suspect wanted in a suspected hate-motivated threatening investigation. On Monday, September 15th, police received a call for a harassment in the Bathurst Street and Shepherd Avenue West area. It was reported that three youth victims were on a TTC bus in the area. The suspect engaged with the victims. The suspect made harassing comments to the victims. The suspect is described as a female with blonde hair. The suspect was wearing a beanie hat. On Friday, October 31st, 25, police released a call for a hate crime in the Bathurst and Shepherd West Ave area. It's further reported that a youth victim was on a TTC bus in the area. The suspect boarded the bus and began to engage the victim. The suspect made harassing comments to the victim and then exited the bus at Bathurst and Laurel Crest Avenue. So they're going after people who get into disagreements on the bus. This whiskey that Fox says, this HCU, hate crime unit, is simply disgusting thought policing, seemingly. It's not a crime to hate. Hurty words should also not be a focus of criminal investigation. Yeah, like this is bonkers stuff, right? And so they're coming to shut down any kind of criticism, valid or not, at all. Like people are going to, if there's bad behavior on a bus or something like that, people are going to swallow their words because they're going to be worried about being investigated for hurty words, right? Hate crime units. So unbelievable stuff. It is a scary, scary time because I feel like we're going in one direction and it's not possible to go in the other direction. You know, when you're sliding down a hill and you keep trying to like drive up the hill, but the car keeps going backwards, that's not a very good situation to be in. So that feels like where we're going. And I've got that same unease in my stomach, and that's not so good. Anyway, we've got to say goodbye to the stream. So thanks for watching, everybody. If you want the whole show, really genuinely, go to CanadaPoly.com. Everywhere else is going to mess with you. Spotify messes with you, and they're still investigating. I have a little notification to tell me to message them again because they're investigating why people can't sign up to my program, and they've been investigating for like more than a month now, and they don't have anything new for me. So they're messing with you. They're messing with me, and it's on purpose. It's not an accident. Anyway, that's enough for me. Thanks for watching, everybody, on the stream, and we will catch you tomorrow. And for everybody else, we will carry on as soon as I've killed the stream. Okay, that's looking good. Everything's fine. And here's Anuki, and they say, stop them before they stop you. They're using digital IDs, mass surveillance, tokenization, nanotech, carbon credits, stable coins, smart meters, artificial intelligence, and wireless signals to build the new digital world order.